Actually, this is my second class attending.
Last session was on Thursday, right? The one that you attended.
At No, I attended on Wednesday, last Wednesday. I
Okay.
thought Thursday was a leave and I didn't attend the class. And when I attended the class Friday, you said Monday to.
All right. So, Ashwin. All right. So, in the last session, basically what we did was we started working on basic PT, and it was sort of also a doubt session on a little bit of troubleshooting. Someone was having an issue. So, what we can do is we can just start again because I think you all have mi- you all weren't present in the last session. So, I'll just cover that again. Now, when I say basic PT, okay, Ashwin, I'll also share a link with you. Okay, so in the chat, I've posted a link.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so go there and you'll have to download a VM. Okay, you'll download an OVA file and which can then be used as a virtual machine,
Okay, sir.
and that is going to be our first target. Okay, so we are going to try to hack into that VM, that system. So I have that set up on my virtual box. You can use either VMware or VirtualBox, whatever you prefer.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
And let me just boot it up and show you how it will appear. So this is the basic pen testing VM. So when you boot it up, this is the screen you will get. Okay, and this is if you're getting the screen, that means your VM has booted up properly, and
Okay,
this is
sir.
where you leave it. Okay, so not do anything further on this, and then you go to your attacking system and start working on trying to attack this. Okay, so let me just come to that. And, all right, so now the first thing that I need to do before I can try to target that system, can anyone tell me what that would be?
Sir, we want to find the IP address of that machine.
Yes, you need to find the IP address. So what do? We use a tool called Net Discover, right? And it needs root privileges. So I'm specifying sudo. Before I do this, I need to make sure what my own IP address is and the interface on which I need to do that. Okay, so when I run the IPA or the IP address command, I get four interfaces. One is the loopback, second is Ethernet 0, Ethernet 1, and there's a tunnel interface which is temporary. Okay, this is not permanently connected. So I have two network adapters connected to my VM. That's why I'm getting Ethernet 0 and Ethernet 1. So this is the interface which is connected to the network on which all my virtual machines are. So interface would be Ethernet 0. I need to specify that with -i ETH 0. -i is for specifying the interface, and Ethernet 0 is the interface which we need to consider. And I can also specify the address range which I need this tool to consider. Otherwise, it's just going to start scanning all IP address ranges, and that is going to take a very long time. So I need to specify the range and okay, 10.0.2.15/24. Now, for some reason, the /24 thing does not seem to work properly with net discover. So we'll just cast a wider net with /16 and try to run it. Okay, so now it's scanning other ranges, and these are the four IPs that it found in this particular range. Okay, so out of these, one of the IPs has to be our target out of these four results that we've seen here. So just by looking at this, can anyone tell me what is one IP that I can eliminate as a possible target, which is guaranteed to not be my target?
Sir, last one.
Why? Like if you're giving me an IP, also need to tell me a reason why that particular one.
Sir, because there is 245 sir in last. So
So what is the issue with 245? It's a valid IP.
no sir, I
So I
think
think
so.
it's a 10.0.2.1
Yes,
because it is a gateway IP address.
you're right. So 10.0.2.1 is the gateway for this network, gateway IP. That's why that's not going to belong to a target.
Okay.
Okay, so that is one IP that you can say, okay, this is definitely not my target. But still, why would you think that 2.245 would be invalid or would be not a target?
I'm sorry, sir. I didn't get you.
I'm saying, why would 2. I'm not asking you, Ravi. I'm saying,
Okay.
why would 2.245 not be a target? So if you have any doubts, any confusions, then we should be clearing them here itself. That's why I'm asking.
No idea, sir.
Okay, so it was just a guess.
Yes, sir.
Okay. See, when we look at these things, okay, we try not to do, okay, try not to proceed based on guesses because, okay, this is like when I said 10.0.2.1. Now, definitely that's your gateway IP, so it's not going to be your target. But if I don't know anything about an IP, I'm not going to eliminate it just because it is, you know, different, or it's because it's in a later portion of the network. Like 245 is almost at the end of the subnet, but that does
Yes, sir.
not mean that it cannot be a valid IP for the target. All right. So based on this, we've seen that this first one, not our target. Based on this information, what other IP can also be eliminated similarly?
Our system ID, sir.
Pardon, our system's IP is not even showing up in these results. My
Okay.
own IP is this 10.0.2.15. So
Okay.
that's not showing up here. Which other IP can be similarly eliminated?
No idea, sir.
No idea. Okay, take a look at the results carefully. Maybe that might point you towards the answer.
Maybe actually it's 10.0.2.245 because the count and the len numbers are same. Maybe it's like final range of IP, last IP address in the range.
No, no, no. The count and the length is not really relevant in
Okay.
defining what type of target it is. Count is just okay. Uh, when you
Yeah,
give
it's a 10.0.2.2 maybe. The MAC address is same.
MAC address is same as that of,
Router.
of the gateway IP.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So this is also not our target because the MAC address is the exact same. That means this is also the gateway, and this is just another interface belonging to the same device, belonging to the gateway, because the
Okay.
MAC address is the same.
Okay.
Now, count and length is just let's say we run the scan now. It basically works on uh, how many ARP packets or from which IPs it's detecting ARP packets. Okay,
Fine,
ARP,
sir.
right? Now it does not matter whether it captures more packets from a particular target, or you know how
Mm.
what the length is. That does not really matter because the now look at this. There are two interfaces of the gateway, but one interface for one IP. There are three packets for the other one. There is only one, but that does not mean anything when it
Okay.
comes to trying to figure out what kind of device it is. All right, so now we're left with two IPs, 2.3 and 2.245.
Yes, sir.
Based on these results alone, it is not possible to determine which of these is the correct IP that we need. So we're going to need to take a better look. And now I'm going to use Nmap.
So I have one doubt.
Yes.
So actually, this we have used net discovery, right? So to scan the IPs.
Yeah.
But what is the other why like what we use to scan IPs of other PC? Like I have one laptop which is Kali running live
Mhm.
OS in it,
Right.
and in my main system I'm running it's Mac OS. I have installed VirtualBox. I have installed the VMware that you have given the link. So how can I scan the we IPs from for this system into a Kali system?
So on this system, on Kali system, okay.
Yeah,
So
like I'm using Wi-Fi.
hmm,
So when I tried, like I have tried net discovery using interface wire WLAN 0, and I given the IP range also, and it is given me only a gateway IP itself, and it is in the top current scanning data. It is showing finished. So I didn't get any other IP address other than my gateway IP. So how to scan virtual machine of other system, like which is
actually,
in other system?
other system is, that's going to be very difficult, or in some cases not even possible, because virtual machines are usually isolated. Okay, so in most cases, what kind of network adapter have you set on your VM?
NAT.
NAT. So in NAT, what happens is that uh, your VM can freely access the internet through
Okay.
your host OS, through your host system, but it's not
Okay.
going to be detectable as a separate machine, as a separate device. Even your host cannot directly interact with it as if it were a separate device. So
Okay.
let alone other systems.
So what is the ideal settings for it?
You can try to put it on bridged if it works.
Okay.
If not, then you'll just have to use, you have to scan using another VM from the same system itself. Or maybe you can scan using the host if you use something like bridged or host only.
Okay. But so one thing is like I'm running physical main OS as Kali in one laptop,
Right.
and I'm attending classes in the other laptop, which I'm logged in right now.
Hmm.
And in this laptop only, I have installed VirtualBox and VM. The file you have sent, no, I have downloaded it and installed it in VM VirtualBox. So how to when I scanned using this laptop, it is showing the VirtualBox as
You are
present
using
in
Kali
this
on this
only.
system, or
No,
wait,
I
wait.
did, I
What
have.
are you using on this system? The one that you're currently logged in as?
Yeah, I currently logged in into Mac.
Okay, Mac. Right.
Yeah, and I have installed this virtual machine in this system, and Kali is totally in on other system, like on other laptop.
Okay, so you will be using this system throughout the course to like practice the one that
Yeah,
you're currently.
yeah, I'll use these both systems because this one has the I attend the classes through this Mac system,
Right.
and I'll
So
practice in this other system.
practice in this other system. I'd recommend that you install VirtualBox on that other system to practice.
Okay, so
Or
on the Kali.
yeah,
Okay.
because Kali is your host, so you can directly use that to interact with your virtual machines. Or
Okay.
install Kali in a virtual machine on this system,
Okay.
so different virtual machines can interact with each other.
Okay.
Right. So that is an option.
Okay.
Okay, now we are left with two IPs, and based on these results alone, it is not possible to determine which of these is our target. So now I'm going to take the help of Nmap. Okay, are you guys familiar with Nmap?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay, good. So in Nmap, we have something known as an operating system detection scan, which tries to figure out what kind of OS is running on your target. So that's what I'm
Yeah.
going to make use of. What is the syntax for it? Does anyone remember?
It's a capital O.
Oh, right, capital O. Exactly.
Yeah.
Nmap, capital O, followed by the target IP or IPs. You can always specify a range of IPs or multiple IPs.
Okay.
10.0.2.3, sorry, 3, comma 245. So I specified two IPs, 2.3 and 2.245, and I'm going to run this. And the scan is already done. So let's take a look at what results we have. For the first IP, 2.3, excuse me. So Nmap tells me in this case that all 1000 scan ports are filtered. What does Nmap mean when it says that ports are filtered?
Like it's under firewall.
There's a firewall, or basically, how does Nmap judge that there's a firewall or that port is filtered? Like, how does it come to that conclusion?
No idea.
When Nmap does not get any response,
Mm-hmm.
okay, to its scan, then it comes to the conclusion that there might be a firewall, and it says that this port is filtered.
Okay.
So there's no that not there's sorry there's not necessary. It's not necessary that filtered means that there's definitely a firewall.
Okay.
Filtered might just mean that Nmap is not getting any response.
Okay.
So it may be a firewall. It may be the case that you know there's an issue with the device itself. But one thing is for sure that Nmap did not get any responses. That's why it says that this port is filtered or these ports are filtered. And as for the operating system detection for this first IP, Nmap tells us too many fingerprints match the source to give specific OS details. Okay, so it's not able to tell us what kind of operating system is running or what kind of device it is.
Okay.
Coming to the second IP, out of 1000 ports, there are 997 ports which are closed, not filtered, okay, closed. That means
Yeah.
Nmap did receive responses and
That's
those ports are closed. And three ports are open, okay. MAC address, we already knew that. And the operating system is Linux, okay. So either 3 point something or 4 point something. Okay, so given the range here. So Linux kernel version somewhere between 3.2
2.22,
to 4.9.
4.9.
Okay. So it hasn't given us the exact version of the Linux kernel, but we know for sure that this is definitely running Linux.
Yeah.
While for the other device, it's not able to tell us anything.
Okay.
So this gives us an indication that the second IP is our target, and the first IP, in this case, the 2.3, that's either another interface or another network device, something belonging to VirtualBox, but it's definitely not our target. So this is our target IP 10.0.2.245. Okay, now we know we have zeroed in on our target. Now we need to get a little bit more information. We already know it's running Linux. We know that there are at least three ports open. So what else can we do here now?
We can scan individual ports for vulnerabilities.
We can scan ports for vulnerabilities. We don't need to scan individually though. No, whether you give it just one port or whether you give it a range, it's going to work the same way.
Yeah.
Okay, we can definitely run vulnerability scans. You're right. And however, before I do that, in this scan, how many ports were considered?
997 ports are closed.
997 were closed, 3 were open. So total of 1000 ports.
1000. Yeah.
And how many ports are there on a system, on a device? What's the total?
65,543, I think.
65,535.
535.
Okay. So Nmap by default, since I haven't specified any number of ports here, okay, there is no specification in the command that we gave. By
Okay.
default, it considers the 1000 most common ports.
Okay.
If you don't specify any particular ports, it's going to scan 1000 most common ports by default.
Okay.
But it's better to be thorough, right? So it's always better to make sure before we move on. So I'd like to scan all ports so that
Okay.
I can be very sure that I'm not missing anything, because there might be some service which runs on a port which is not commonly used. So if that's the case, it won't have showed up in the scan. So I'll just run a scan for all ports. So nmap, and we use the -p option for specifying ports. I can specify individual ports, or I can specify ranges. I can specify ranges, individual ports, whatever combinations I like. For example, for all ports, I either specify this, or there is a shortcut to do this for all ports. Just write -p and add a hyphen after that. So it's going to take that as all ports. And the IP, target IP first, and we run this. Okay, so the scan report is back, and we can see that there are again just those 3 ports.
Yes, sir.
The rest are all closed. Okay, but we didn't discover any new open ports, but at least we can now be sure that we're not missing out on anything.
Okay.
Now I need to run a few more in-depth scans than what we run. So far, the scans we have run, they only tell us whether the ports are open or closed. Now we need to try and figure out a little bit more information about these ports and the services that are running on them. So nmap-sv is for service version detection. So whatever services are running on whatever ports, it's going to try and find out what exact versions of those services or softwares are running. Then it's usually combined with a script scan based on the open ports. Now Nmap has a lot of inbuilt scripts, so it runs some information gathering scripts. Basically, they try to tell you a little bit more about the open ports or the services running. So to do that, we need a script scan. Syntax for that is -s capital C. Now, of course, I don't need to even write all this. I can just do a capital A, which is an aggressive scan. So it combines a few different things. With an aggressive scan, you get a service version detection, script scan, operating system detection, and a trace route all in one. So, and okay, it has already given us the results of the scan. Now you can see in this case, Rather than just telling you that port 21 is open and FTP is running, it has also told you what exact software or service version is running. So Pro FTPD 1.3.3C. Now this is the version of the FTP server that is running. Similarly for SSH, OpenSSH 7.2 P2 Ubuntu is running. So also this is another indication that our target is Linux, and even more specific, it's Ubuntu. Our target is running Ubuntu. And that information is also present in the HTTP, you know, service Apache HTTP 2.4.18. This is the web server that's running, and again Ubuntu. So now the scripts that have run, okay, SSH host key is not really giving us any information. The other two scripts, HTTP server header, okay, just this is already stuff that we're getting here. An HTTP title site doesn't have a title. Okay. So these are the results of this aggressive scan. Now we can run a vulnerability scan with Nmap. So script is equal to 1 vuln, or you can just say script space vuln 1. So this is going to run all those vulnerability scanning scripts that are applicable to the current open ports that it finds on the system. Now this can usually take a little bit longer because Nmap, if it finds a vulnerability, is also going to try and check if it can whether it's giving you the desired output. Okay, so we finally have the results of this vulnerability scan as well. Now for port 21 for the FTP service, there's a script called FTP Pro FTPD backdoor, and it's telling us that this installation has been backdoored. Now it has tried to exploit that, and after that it ran the ID command, and the result it got was this. So basically, if we are able to exploit this vulnerability, we can get root access on our target system. All right, so that's definitely one of the major benefits of doing a vulnerability scan, that can easily figure out if there is any vulnerabilities present, and we can then work on exploiting those. Okay. As for the other ports for SSH, there's nothing. Usually for SSH, there's going to be nothing to exploit, or there's nothing to do with SSH basically. Once you have credentials, any valid credentials for the system, then maybe you can log in with SSH. But other than that, we don't really touch SSH. Now for HTTP, again, there are no vulnerabilities that we could exploit. There is this HTTP enumeration script, however, which has found slash secret, and it says it's a potentially interesting folder. All right, so we'll check this out later on. And it's vulnerable to something known as the slow loris denial of service attack. Again, this is not of any use to us because a denial of service does not serve any purpose. Okay, so I'm trying to hack into the system, try to gain access to it. A denial of service doesn't do anything for me. Okay, so now how do we make use of this vulnerability? How do we exploit it? Any suggestions there?
No idea.
No, okay. Excuse me. So we'll be using a tool known as Metasploit. Have you heard of this one? Metasploit?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, heard of it? Okay. And are you familiar with it? Have you used it?
Yeah.
Use it. Okay,
Yes,
good.
sir.
So we'll be using Metasploit for this. And I'll just come over here, go to MSF console,
So
and just excuse me for a minute while this loads.
Sir, it's loaded.
Sir, sir,
Okay, so we are now in Metasploit. Okay, so MSF6 we have now entered the Metasploit terminal. Now, Metasploit, if you've used it, you're familiar with it, then you know that there are different modules in Metasploit. Even if you don't, I'm just going to explain it a little bit. And the different exploits, if there's a vulnerability, you can search for it in Metasploit. You might find an exploit that is related. So, in our case, the service that is vulnerable is this FTP, and even more specifically, Pro FTPD, which is the FTP server that's running Pro FTPD 1.3.3c. Okay, this particular version is running on our target and it is vulnerable. So now in Metasploit, you can search for exploits or modules related to any particular keyword that you can specify. So I'm going to search here for Pro FTPD. Let's see if there's anything. And okay, there are a few modules, 6 modules to be exact. And these are all exploits. Now, the one we are targeting, the version we are targeting is 1.3.3c. So I'm going to look for that particular one. Now, this one is 1.3.2, 1.3.3b. Okay, not going to work. 1.2, 1.3.2. Okay, this is the one, right? 1.3.3c, backdoor command execution. Okay, so this is the one that we can use. Okay, 1.3.3c, and even in the vulnerability scan, Nmap tells us that this installation has been backdoored. All right, so this is the one I need. So I'll just say use, and either I can write this full name, or I, since you know the search results come with the numbering, so I can just say use number 4. So use 4, and now that is selected. Okay, so the exploit Unix FTP Pro FTPD 1.3.3c backdoor has been selected. Now every module has its own options that you need to set. So I'm just going to run options. So there are two options for this particular module: R hosts and R port. R hosts is your target host. So I need to specify that R hosts, and the target host is, I'll specify the target IP here, which is 10.0.2.245. All right, so that value is set. The other option was R port. So the target port, by default, it is set to 21 because FTP uses port 21 by default. We don't need to change that, since even on our target system, FTP is running on port 21. Now what I can do is I can go ahead and run this, but will it run? No, it will not, because a payload was not selected. So although the exploit, it is running, it says exploit completed, but no session was created. But there is no payload. So after Metasploit exploits the vulnerability on the target, there is no payload, which means it does not know what to do on the target system. We're not specifying anything there. So what we need to do is, I'll say show payloads. So it is going to give me a list of all payloads that are compatible with this module, with this exploit. So there are about 8 payloads here, and we have to select one of these. Now, when we try to get access to a system, we always try to get a reverse shell. Are you guys familiar with the bind shells and reverse shells?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So our goal is to get reverse shells. Out of these, let's see which ones are reverse shells. This is a bind shell, reverse shell. Okay. So these ones are reverse shells, right?
Yeah.
So what I can do is I can use any of these. I'll just use the first one, this CMD Unix reverse. So set payload, and I'll paste this. Okay, this did not get copied. And the payload has been set. Now if I run options again, the payload options will also be added. And there are two options here, lhost and lport. Lhost because we need to specify the IP of our own system, so that when the exploit runs, when the payload runs, and that system initiates a reverse connection, it knows what IP to connect back to. So I need to give my own IP here. So set lhost. All right. And port is set to 4444 by default. Now you can either use that, or actually you should change that, because 4444 is, it's known that it's a common Metasploit port. So usually if you're running this, it's better to just change this. So just set anything random. Now if I try to run this exploit, actually you should always verify with the options first whether everything is set to whether the correct thing or not. Okay, so R host is fine, R port, L host, L port. All right. Now I'm going to run this. So it says started reverse TCP handler. That means it's going to use that port, open that port, and catch any incoming connections there. And after that, it has run the exploit. Okay, sending backdoor command, accepted the first, second client connection. And after all of that is done, it tells you that command shell session one opened between these two sockets. So this is our system and this is the target system. So we are connected to port 34952 on that system. All right. So now I basically have shell access to my target. I can run the ID command. UID is equal to 0 root. So that means I have root access basically to my target system. I found a vulnerability, I exploited it using Metasploit, and now I have root access on the target. Also verify this with the whoami command. So we are able to get root access here. And there's also, in when it comes to Metasploit, there's something known as a meterpreter shell, which is a proprietary and Metasploit shell, which has even more functionality than a normal command shell. So you can try to upgrade your session. All right. So sessions upgrade and ID one, because this is command shell session one. Okay, I need to background this session first. Now sessions. There is one session. I need to upgrade this. -u for upgrade and session number one, session ID one. Actually, this is the ID that I'm using. I can check sessions again, and there are two sessions now. One is a normal shell, and the other is a meter preter shell. So if I want to get into the meter preter shell, sessions hyphen I for interact, and followed by the ID, which is 2, ID 2. And now I have a meter preter shell. So if you look at the commands that are available, there's a lot of stuff in this kind of shell as compared to a normal shell. Okay, so you can control webcams, you can control mics, you can play any random audio on your target system. Then, of course, you have file system commands to interact with the file system itself. You have your core commands. So basically, a meter preter shell, if you're able to get into one, gives you more control over your target as compared to a regular shell. So you can try to upgrade to a meter preter shell once you have a regular command shell available on your target. Okay, now for this,
Hi, Ravi. Solomon here. I'm sorry.
uh,
Um, are we recording this session?
yes, all sessions are recorded.
Oh, lovely. Thank you. Because
Yeah.
yeah, I want to go through these commands again one more time. Just going through
Yeah, all the
those.
sessions are recorded. Don't You don't have to worry about that.
Is there a place that they are kept to download for every week? Or
I can like for today's session, I can give you the recording tomorrow's session.
okay, lovely. Thank you.
All right. So with the meter preter, you have much greater control, and of course, we have the user ID that we are logged in as on our target is root. So I have complete control over my target system now. I can do whatever I want there. For this basic pen testing CTF, this is one way to hack into it. Okay, and this is using Metasploit. Now we won't be focusing on Metasploit in the rest of the course because the thing is, excuse me, Metasploit makes a lot of stuff easier. Okay, it automates a lot of the things for you. But from a learning perspective, taking class, you need to be able to see how to do things manually as well. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on Metasploit because although it is a very nice tool and very helpful in an actual penetration test, since it automates a lot of the work for you, you don't get to learn. So manual exploitation is what we'll be focusing on for the rest of the course. Now there are, like I mentioned, there are two ways to hack this basic pen testing machine. One of which we have already seen with the FTP vulnerability, and the other, okay, we'll have to take a different route. Now, before, okay, any questions so far?
No.
No? Okay, so I'm going to exit Metasploit now. Now, talking about FTP, okay, whenever you see an FTP service that is open on a target, there is something that you can try. Okay, you can try to get an anonymous login there. Now, in order to access an FTP server, you can either type this in your browser, FTP and followed by the IP, or you can try accessing it from the command line. Just do this FTP space IP and press enter. It's going to ask you for a username. If anonymous login is enabled, you should be able to log in with anonymous as the username and password. So anonymous and password should also be the same. Password can actually be anything, but it says login incorrect, login failed here because anonymous login is not available on this FTP server. If it were available, if it were possible to do anonymous login on this server, then maybe we would have been able to find some interesting files, some useful files on this FTP server. But that is not the case. So anonymous login or is out of the question, but still it's worth keeping in mind that there is always a possibility of an anonymous login in FTP. So whenever you come across an FTP server, this is something you can attempt. Now, since there is no anonymous login present here, I just exit it. Okay, this is worth trying though. If you ever see an FTP server. All right. So this we have exploited this vulnerability FTP Pro FTPD backdoor using Metasploit, and now there is no other vulnerability that we can directly make use of. But that does not mean that there is no way to hack into the system, nor there is no other option. It just means that there is no other vulnerability which is present. So when we looked at the open ports, there was SSH. Like besides FTP, there was SSH and HTTP. So for SSH, we don't have any credentials. So we take a look at HTTP. And HTTP means there's a web server running, so you can always try to go to your browser and access that. But this only tells us that there is a web server. This is not a website that we have reached here. Okay, so